Hey guys, camera for Outlander, Season 2, Episode 5, Untimely Resurrections. Now I was definitely looking forward to this episode. Of course, things were crazy last week. That whole crazy situation we had last week with the rape and the party and things like that. I really didn't know what was going to happen in this episode, and this once again was another crazy episode. A lot of big things happened in this episode. We got the return of Jack in this episode, which we'll get into, which I know you guys really want me to talk about, but things are definitely about to get really dark. I think we're really starting to see Jamie's downfall, because of course we do know what ends up happening to Jamie. But let's just get into this episode. There's a lot to talk about as usual, and I definitely really love this episode. So we start off and we see basically they're still cleaning up. Basically we see the house staff extinguishing candles, picking up dinner plates, flowers, and writing overturned furniture. Because of course that whole brawl that happened last week, we see Claire's voice comes in letting us know that everyone's been arrested, taken to the Bastille from the dinner party brawl, and Jamie included there, because basically they didn't know what to do. They just arrested everyone. Even though it was a misunderstanding, she is up and waiting for him by the window before the light changed to morning, and Jamie weirdly walks in to see her awake on the sofa with a just fallen asleep Fergus, and Jamie acknowledges Claire staying awake all night, waiting, and lovingly scoops up Fergus with a "you did well, guy guarding your mistress," and Claire and Jamie lovely kiss as he walks out of the room to go put Fergus to bed, and it's a really nice scene. I mean, you really do see the bonding between Fergus and Jamie that they really have had. I really like it, actually. It's nice stuff for Jamie. Of course, it is us getting to see what Jamie would be like as a father, which we know, of course, we'll never get to see because we know what ends up happening to Jamie, which is, of course, very sad. But I think it's a good way of us getting to see what Jamie would have been like had he been able to be a father to Claire's child, which we'll get into, which, of course, we'll get into eventually. So Jamie and Claire arrive in their bedroom. Jamie is telling her how he was released once Duvernay showed up, and Murtaugh's home with him, but we see Alex didn't fare so well, since Silas Hawkins is claiming he saw Alex attack Mary, and he thinks that Alex is the one responsible, and of course he's not. Alex is the one that's in love with Mary, and we know that Mary pretty much probably would, I think, have sex with Alex. Like, if it was Alex, I think she genuinely would have sex with him, because we know that Mary does have feelings for Alex, and I think I did kind of get Mary's interpretation of sex wrong. Mary is not completely, just immune to sex. It's not that she doesn't enjoy sex. It's more of the idea that she wants passion. She doesn't just want sex. She wants romance involved with it, things like that. It's a very interesting situation. I really like the way that was done, and I think they really showed that very well here. I think Mary just is a very interesting character because of that. So basically, Claire says that they have to help Alex because he's not his brother, and asks if the Duke can help, and of course Santagram is no help now because his secretary has been publicly disgraced, and they go on to discuss that Santagram will see Prince Charlie as a bad investment, and Claire lets Jamie know the prince left the party with the Comte Saint-Germain, with, of course, Saint-Germain, who, of course, we know Claire feels is plotting against her, and Jamie intends to have Murtaugh keep an eye on Saint-Germain in hopes of determining if the Comte has anything to do with the attacks on Claire, Mary, and Murtaugh, because for all he know, I mean, Comte could have planned the whole attack on Mary, which I don't think he did. We know it's more Claire's downfall, but that still did ruin things for Claire, so definitely that's very interesting. Jamie asks Claire if she can remember anything more about the attacks, and she describes the attackers having speech and clothing more aristocratic. He asks her how they escaped the attackers. She says that they mistook her as a mythical creature, La Dame Blanche, and seeing that Jamie knows the term, Claire asks if he heard of it, and we find out that the reason that they think that is because Jamie actually said that he was married to La Dame Blanche to get out of a situation that Prince Charles was putting him in at Maison de Madame Elise, so that he could stay true to Claire, but not appear unmanly, basically. That was his only way to do that. So after the happenings at Cranesmere, Claire is surprised that this is a story that Jamie would go to, because she didn't think that he'd do this kind of thing, especially because he knew what happened with Galus and things like that, and he knows what you could do if you are a witch, but says that the assassins must be customers at Maison Elise, and this means that maybe they can find them and have them lead the idea of the attacks back to Saint-Germain, because again, they're starting to think that Saint-Germain is responsible for a lot of the things that have happened, which I don't think they're wrong. I think Saint-Germain definitely is a big part of this, but Jamie and Murtaugh are in Jamie's office of Jared's wine warehouse, and Murtaugh tells Jamie how Saint-Germain was easy to track, but that he could not find anything suspicious. Just the way that Saint-Germain was, it probably was just the scene. However, at Maison Elise, he was able to gain information from several members of a gang of masked men called Les Disciples, lay disciples that prowl the streets in search of prey, and they are aristocrats and cause Jamie to stop in his tracks, evaluating the wine that he is holding. And Murtaugh continues to say that the way into a gang is a maidenhead, and confirms confirms with Jamie if Mary was a virgin, because he didn't really know if Mary was a virgin. They're interrupted with the arrival of a new shipment, but Jamie stays continue talking with Murtaugh, tells him to go get some sleep. Murtaugh sits like a puppy with its tail between its legs, tells Jamie straight out, I failed you, which, he feels he has because of the fact that he was not able to get that information, that Jamie gave him the trust to Claire, his unborn child, and Mary, and that they could have been killed. That's why he feels he failed him, because he was told to look after them. He didn't, and he feels that he's a failure. But Jamie constantly consoles him by saying that he was outmanned and that he didn't believe that Murtaugh failed him, but the best way to continue is for Murtaugh to stay on Saint Germain and basically just continue what he's doing. Basically just try to get more information. He's not done yet, so why, put himself down when he's not even done? So connect him to the gang. Murtaugh takes this on and says he will lay just vengeance at Jamie's feet or be damned, and then they will both do manly nods to each other. So Claire arrives at the Hawkins house, convinces Mary's aunt that she needs to give Mary a medical evaluation because she needs to make sure that Mary was in fact a virgin, that this was in fact a rape, because if it's not, then this changes everything. It changes the whole situation. There's a lot more that's going to happen. There's a lot more at stake, and if Mary wasn't a virgin, this could really change a lot of things. So Mary tells Claire that her uncle has refused to let her out of the house and wants to leave Paris as soon as she has recovered, because he realizes how dangerous Paris really is. I mean, we know how corrupted Paris is really becoming, and Mary asks Claire if she will deliver a letter that she has written explaining the attack and innocence of Alex to the authorities as the Bastille, and Claire says she will deliver it, and Mary continues to speak of her fondness for Alex, and Claire asks Mary how she is feeling, and Mary says that sadly she says ashamed, and that she didn't think she would be the same person now. So Claire consoles Mary that the best she can, tells her she shouldn't feel ashamed, and that it wasn't Mary's fault, and Claire pulls out some herbs that she brought, and after she instructs Mary how they are to be used, has to give a tiny birds and the bees conversation on why Mary will most likely not be pregnant from the man's assault on her. Mary says that she's grateful for Claire, finds a positive in the situation by saying at least now she won't have to marry the dreadful victim-y Mary Jeannie, which we obviously doesn't want to do, and she knows that once Alex is free, he will come for her, and she professes her love for Alex to Claire and their desire to marry, and it's a really nice scene. But of course, as we know, Mary's supposed to get married to Jack. That's who she's supposed to get married to, and the problem is, now it seems like Alex has taken that role that Jack was supposed to have, and Claire, you can tell, is kind of worried, because of course, Frank couldn't be born. If Frank's never born, then she'll never meet Jamie, and if faced with the decision to put Mary's letter explaining Alex's incidents into fire at the home at the hands of the authorities, like she told Mary she would ensure, she stands and contemplates letting fate take its course. She's really wondering, should I try to change this? Should I try to get her to think of Jack? But she really is contemplating whether or not that's the best thing to do. If she should just let Mary enjoy being with Alex, if that's really what she should do, because she doesn't want Mary to suffer, obviously, but is it the best thing to do for her to, or should she really try to turn things around, which is a very interesting situation. I like the way that that's going. We then see Prince Charlie. He's come to the warehouse and says that the female taste has been lifted from his mind. Jamie asks if it's about the investors, and Charles says that if they are about to come into 10,000 pounds sterling and mark him, he says he stands poised to lay the throne of Britain at the king's feet. And Jamie asks who's offering the generous amount, and is surprised to hear that Comte Saint Germain is offering this amount. Not only is this information new, but the Comte needs a business partner, and the prince has offered up as his good friend James with this deal, and the prince hopes to gain enough to start purchasing ships and arms, as well as show Duvernay that the venture is strong and gain French funding. So Jamie speaks of his worry working with Saint Germain, the rumors, and the prince says that there are rumors, and he doesn't give stock in them anymore, that the rumors of La Dame Blanche. He knows that Saint Germain is not a supporter of the cause, and that is why he's offered Jamie to sell the shipment of Madeira, so that Jamie can keep an eye on Saint Germain, and this is a very good way of Jamie being able to get that information that he needs, because again, he really doesn't trust Saint Germain, and the prince has a meeting for Jamie and Saint Germain at Maison Elise to go over the logistics so that he cannot bring himself to be plagued with, and I really love this scene, because again, you can really see his determination. His main concern is Claire, as usual. His main concern is to ensure Claire's safety, make sure that Saint Germain is someone he can trust, which he doesn't really think he can trust him right now, and the way that Jamie's getting information is obviously very low-key. He's trying to be very low-key about it. He's trying to make sure he's not trying to get information on him, because of course the best way to do that is to make sure you're not getting information. That's exactly what he's trying not to do. He doesn't want to make it seem like he is suspicious, and he pretty much wants to remain as low-key as possible. So Claire and the newly released Alex are walking in the garden. He thanks her for her assistance in release from the frightening Bastille. And I thought this was a very interesting scene, because I was really wondering, is Claire going to talk to Alex about Jack? What's she really going to do here? Because knowing that Jack and Mary are supposed to end up together, and then Mary seems to like Alex, Claire really doesn't know how to, handle this, because she doesn't want to obviously ruin Mary and Alex's happiness. She knows they're happy together. She knows that Mary does love Alex, but she informs Alex that she is concerned because she doesn't know that he'll be able to find him employment now that Sandergram had released him from his service. And after a coughing fit, she adds his health onto the list on why she thinks Mary, her friend, may not be the best fit of life for Alex. And she says that he should set aside his feelings. They need to think what is best for Mary. He says he loves her enough to want her to have the future that she deserves. He thanks Claire for her candor and says that Mary's lucky to have a friend as caring as she is. And it's a really nice scene. And it really did come across as very genuine. I do think that Claire really does want things to go well for Mary, even though that fact that obviously it's mainly because she wants Frank to be born. I do think that she genuinely does care about Mary. She wants things to go well for her. She wants Mary to marry someone that she is going to be able to marry and someone that isn't going to screw her over. And that's exactly what Alex is, someone that will help Mary in need. I definitely did love seeing that. So Jamie and Saint Germain are now in Mason Elise, saying to go over the logistics of the partnership that they've been somewhat forced into. And after Madame Elise gives them both wine, Jamie starts a conversation off with directly saying that he knew neither of them really wanted to be there, so they need to get with it, pretty much, because they don't really want to be there. They've basically been forced into this, and Saint Germain agreed with Jamie, saying he didn't want to be in the partnership either, that he has a great memory, remembers Claire's attempt to ruin him, and of course, we know that he's, the first thing we've heard him say that he doesn't let these things go. And Jamie retorts with, since the comp brought up Claire, he's going to clarify he knows someone poisoned her, attacked her, and raped her friend. And if he finds Mary responsible, he will meet with a very slow and painful death. And the comp brushes this off by saying he has no interest in Jamie's personal life and that he will control the entire shipment until Jamie has buyers in place and for Jamie not to contact him before. And just from that response, I really feel the comp is very shady. The fact that the comp is not telling Jamie anything, the fact that comp did not directly say, I had nothing to do with this, that is not what he said. He said, I'm not interested in your life. That is not, he did not say, I am not responsible for this. So that definitely does not rule out the comp in any means. You know, definitely I think the comp is still just as responsible. He's still just as shady, and I don't trust this guy whatsoever. I mean, I want to trust this guy, but I don't trust him whatsoever, I have to say. I mean, just the way he's acting, the way that he's always had this grudge against Claire. From what Jared said in the first episode, I've never trusted him. I trust him even less now. I mean, just from saying that, he really seems like he's trying to cover up something, and it still seems that way. So he then gets up, walks toward Jamie, drops money on the table in front of Jamie, and it's clear that he's only focused on money. He's only interested in money. He doesn't want to talk about anything else, and I think it's because he really is trying to be very shady and not really seem like he's responsible for anything, which I really do think he is. Even though, obviously, he's trying to make it seem like he's the innocent one, I don't really think he is. I think he's really hiding it from Jamie. He really just knows, knowing what Jamie said to him, I think he really is trying to hide what he really wants to do. So we're back at the house. Jamie's explaining the wine venture to Claire and what will happen if Prince Charles gets the money he's expecting. Jamie jokes that he doesn't give a guess a man will bring in smallpox on the shipment as well, and he sees Claire gets an idea. When he says he's joking about the smallpox, she replies that she isn't joking, and she has herbs that can convince everyone that the shipment is tainted and have it destroyed, and that she will look into it tomorrow. And Jamie reminds her to not forget that they're going to go to the royal stables the following day because he has agreed to assist the Duke of Sandergram in getting a new term of horses. And after a quiet moment, Jamie gets up to get a gift that he has had and been waiting to present to Claire, and it's a box of apostle spoons. And he tells her that he had Jenny send them over, and they had been passed down in the family for years. And I like that little reference to Jenny. You know, Jenny was a part of last season, and I'm glad that she's still kind of included here. Claire shares a concern of her being a good mother, and she is really worried that she's not going to be a good mother, and Jamie consoles her saying what she doesn't know that they will learn together. They both say they love each other and seal it with a kiss, and that's one of the things that's just so great about Outlanders, the power of Jamie and Claire. That bond needs to be good. If they're not together, the show, they really are broken, and we really do get to see that in this episode, both in them being together, and then of course the final scene, which we'll get into. So on the garden of Versailles, Jamie's loving the smell of the stables. Claire, with her pregnancy and morning sickness, not so much. She's still throwing up and everything. So Sandergram joins the couple with his exuberant remarks, and Claire makes her leave with thought that she may be sick, and Jamie and the Duke continue to look over on the horses. Sandergram brings up the dinner party, but Jamie end up in the Bastille, and Jamie lets him know that he was only there for a short period, but there were many there that have been there for decades. Ending the conversation quickly, and he says, I find more preferable, he said that he finds more preferable to politics, at least in more he knows his enemies. And Claire's admiring and sampling some of the fruit when Jamie, and it's a very interesting scene the way that was done. It's clear that Jamie is trying to shut down things, you know, he really doesn't want to talk about it, and Claire's admiring and sampling some of the fruit when Jamie's old love Annalise finds her. And what I love about this scene is that it shows that there's not going to be a problem for Annalise and Claire, even though Annalise obviously was a former flame of Jamie's. One, we know she's married, we know that she is married, and that basically, you know, she is with someone else right now, and that she's not with Jamie Jamie in any way. She said she doesn't want to be with Jamie, and it's a good direction to take her in. We don't need another Leary. I don't want another Leary. I know you guys don't want another Leary. Leary didn't kill last season, but she was really annoying. I definitely will say that. I mean, I really went from kind of defending Leary to absolutely hating Leary and being really happy that they just got rid of her altogether. And I think you agree with me. We do not need another Leary. I'd be very pissed off they got another Leary, and I'm glad that Annalise is not another Leary. She actually is a friend to Claire. These two do seem like they're going to bond, and I like seeing that. She asks Claire if she will join her on a walk through the garden. And back to Santagram and Jamie, the topic of Prince Charlie comes up. Santagram does not indeed consider the prince to be an ass, and he doesn't know why Jamie is pledged to him. And Jamie does a great job ignoring the comment when talking about the age of the horse in front of him, because he doesn't really want to talk about his opinion of the prince, obviously. Santagram brings up the fact that Jamie has incredible knowledge, but how could he judge horses so well he would not be able to judge men? Jamie weighs the waters of the prince's father and approaches Santagram with that answer, or so it seems, before Santagram's retort of cherishing options. And basically, it's a very interesting scene that we saw, that he says that the prince's father is the true king, and he's really not. So a very interesting scene that we saw there. I like that Jamie's not really giving his opinion. He's more focused on what he needs to be focused on, and he's not going to let the Duke basically tell him what to do. So we're back to Annalise and Claire walking in the garden discussing life in Scotland. Annalise remembers the young Jamie impulsive and headstrong. She says that Claire has turned him into a man, and speaking of men, and we remember that. We remember how innocent Jamie used to be, and now Jamie really is this headstrong man, and it's something that Jamie wasn't before, and something that Claire really has helped him with. So the camera then fades into focus, and we see Jack walking up through the garden toward Claire, and yes, Jack is back in this episode. Creepy as ever, definitely creepy as ever, but you can tell really accomplished. Like, he really feels accomplished. He doesn't seem as goal-oriented. Like, it really seems like he's had his goal. He's done what he needs to do with Jamie. He's gonna do more, definitely. There's gonna definitely be more going on with that, but right now, at least, he is kind of satisfied, and he's kind of feeling like maybe he's good with Jamie right now. So he gets to the lady, simply says Claire. Annalise asks if they are acquainted, and Blackjack says that they are. He introduces himself to Annalise, and we see that Jack is very uncomfortable. She asks if he's okay. He says he met with an accident, and of course we know what Jamie did to him and everything, which he rightfully deserved, and Claire says that she's not feeling well. Annalise asks she to go for her husband. This sets a whole set of emotions into play. Jack says that Jamie asks where he is. Realizing that Jamie is alive, he obviously wants to go after Jamie, and Claire says that he should go, and if Jamie sees him, that will cut Jack's throat, and that he will cut Jack's throat, which he will. We know the second that Jamie's going to see him, he's going to make sure that Jack is dead, and that's something that he will not deny in any way. And we know, of course, what kind of, how powerful Claire really is, how powerful Jack really is. And she knows that she needs to keep Jack alive. So it's a very interesting situation. Claire, I think, personally does want Jamie to get his revenge on Jack, but she knows that she needs to keep Jack alive, or else Frank will die. And basically, she goes to leave, he comes around her, steps in front of her, he starts talking about fate and how it's so interesting that their fate has brought them to French court, and it's a great scene because you remember how intimidating Jack really is. I mean, this guy really is fucking scary, I'm not gonna lie. He's one of the most terrifying villains on TV. I shiver when this guy comes on, I get chills, I am completely focused on the screen, I feel very uneasy watching his scenes, and it just shows how powerful Tobias Menzies really is as an actor. I mean, look at him as Frank in episode 1, and look at him as Jack here. In many ways, they are kind of the same. Jack obviously more ferocious and definitely less moral than Frank is, but Frank, when he gets angry, he gets just as angry as Jack, and I think they really showed that very well here. He starts talking about fate and how it is so interesting that fate has brought them to French court. He then says the king, to which Claire used the statement, "Fuck the king," and Jack bows, and she really is just trying to get away from this point. She doesn't want anything to do with him. She turns and wobbles a bit in front of the French king before agreeing and introducing Jack. Louis welcomes Rams Jack to Versailles, and Jack responds, "It is an honor to be there," and Louis' court laughs at Jack, and he gives an apology saying that the French language is not as easily mastered by the English, making note that he does not mean this toward Claire anyway. And Louis then goes on to admire Jack's uniform and insults the soldiers. Jack says that he has something that he sometimes prefers war because then you know your enemies, and Louis agrees, and he says he hopes that Jack's preference of carnage does improve untimely for him. And as the king is asking Claire and Jack are friends, we can see the blurry shape of Jamie walking up behind them. It's a great scene because you really do see how divided Claire and Jack really are right now. That Jamie really is the thing that is keeping these two from basically just straight on attacking each other. He comes up and greets the king, who introduces himself to Jack. Jamie does not look at Jack for some time. Both men have had a hand on their sword hits, and when Jamie inquires over Jack's health, he finally looks at him. Claire takes Jamie's arm, and he turns to face Jack's face, and Jack says straight up, perhaps you should beg on your knees, and the king asks what Jack is doing in France, and he explains that he's there to aid his brother, who Santagram has let go, and that's why he's there, which I like that we realize that it's not because of Jamie. He's not there to get his revenge. That's nothing to do with that. He didn't even expect to see Jamie there. I do kind of feel like he did know that Jamie was still alive and they didn't want to go after him, but obviously he didn't come there with the mindset of wanting to kill Jamie, which is very interesting. It's definitely a different Jack than we saw last year, which I do like seeing. Jack is still just as intimidating and still just as scary, but I do think that he's much different than we saw last year. He's not as focused on going after Jamie. He's not as focused on trying to take out Claire. He's a lot more focused on his brother. And that new dynamic is something we didn't see last year, and I'm looking forward to seeing how that plays out. The king informs him that perhaps he should beg. Jack asks if this is like an impossible idea. We see Jamie, who is fighting with all he is to smile. Jack again repeats beg, to which the king says, yes, on your knees, and then Jack gets on his knees, and the king court and Jamie laugh at seeing Jack get on his knees in front of them all. The king continues to make fun of him, saying, not now, you English are all so literal, and Jack is seething. Claire tells the king that she's feeling so unwell and requests leave, and I like that people are actually making fun of Jack here. I mean, we remember how scared everyone was of Jack, and actually seeing people make fun of Jack really shows how out of place Jack feels in France. And I'm not saying it makes Jack feel vulnerable, but it kind of does. It's honestly kind of scary, the fact that Jack is actually vulnerable in this situation. I mean, we see that Jack really does not fit in here, just like Claire. He does not really fit in with the etiquettes of France either, and I really do like seeing that. So Claire tells the king she's feeling unwell, requests leave, which he grants for her and Jamie. Louis then tells Jack that he can get up as it would be a shame to ruin his pretty breeches, and making himself in the court laugh as they walk away from Jack. Claire and Jamie are walking quickly away from where they have just left Jack kneeling, and when Jamie asks Claire if she's really feeling unwell, she asks if it's the baby. She replies that she is actually fine. She wanted them away. He says wait here. He quickly returns to Jack where we see them talk, and Jack puts his hand on Jamie's chest. They bow to each other. Jamie returns to Claire with a pep in his step and kilt swing, and I'm really wondering, what did they just talk about? I really was like, holy shit, what's going on here? Claire asks what happened, and Jamie tells her that he challenged Jack to a duel and that he accepted because he owed him a death. And very interesting, the fact that he literally challenged him to a duel, and we see that this uncomfortable carriage ride home with Jamie grinning and Claire very upset, not just because of the fact that obviously Jamie is in danger, she knows that, but also the fact that she knows that if Jack dies, she'll never get to see Jamie, and that whole part of her future is going to be erased, and that really changes a lot of things. And that's one of the things that really is very well done here. We see they pull up to a house. Fergus steps up to assist them out. Jamie looks at him, says it's a great day, and to fetch Murtaugh at once. Claire stays in the carriage and asks the driver to take her to the Bastille, and this is when Claire makes a decision that she probably should not have made. We see Murtaugh and Jamie are discussing the particulars of the duel and how it's going to go when Claire walks in and says that there will not be a duel, as she had Jack thrown into the Bastille, saying that it was him who attacked her, which of course he didn't, but she did this to protect them and basically Mary on the street. Murtaugh and Jamie are both taken aback, and they're obviously not happy because Jamie really wanted to take out Jack. He wanted to feel that victory that he didn't get to feel, and now he gets to, and she continues with dueling as outlawed in France, and then he will spend the rest of his life in jail if not killed. You know, basically, if he's not killed by Jack, he will end up in jail either way, and you know, no matter what happens, it really is a bad idea, and she's not going to risk that, and she says Jamie needs to think of her and the child, and Murtaugh chimes in, says that he won't get caught, he will see to it, and Claire asks Murtaugh to please leave this between her and Jamie, and we get this great scene between Jamie and Claire. Now, things have been kind of tough between these two, obviously. I mean, they are in this situation where, yes, they are together, and they do seem like they're on the same side. This is probably the first time this year where they're really not on the same side. Claire really is not okay with Jamie going after Jack, not just because I think of what, you know, the fact that she needs to keep Jack alive. I also think she genuinely doesn't want Jamie to go after Jack because she knows the consequences that could really happen here, and I thought it was very well done the way this happened. I definitely really did enjoy that. Really, really great seeing her. Really amazing stuff from both Caitriona Bell and from Caitriona Balfe, I think is how I pronounce her name, and from Sam Heughan in the scene. They both did a great job. They always do a great job, but this scene in general I thought was fantastic. One of my favorite scenes of the season, probably. Jamie says that Claire gave him a gift, telling him that Jack was alive, and now he's claimed the gift. She says that he can't kill now because then Frank won't be born, does drop that bomb, and she explains the family tree, and Mary Hawkins with Jack creating the ancestors that will create Frank, and if Jamie kills Jack, then Frank won't exist. And Jamie says that he thought that they were here to change the future, which they were, and he really wanted them to do that, and the argument continues over if Jamie will or will not go to kill Jack. He gives Claire an ultimatum and basically says, look, it's him or me, and of course he doesn't fully understand why she wants Jack alive. It's not because she wants Frank to live, it's because if Frank doesn't live, she'll never get to see Jamie because of Craig Nadoon, and she requests a delay of a year so that the baby can be born to Mary ensuring Frank, and then Jamie can kill Jack, that she will even help Jamie kill him. Basically, she's going to make sure that, Jack and Mary can get married and that can happen, that Frank will live, and she'll make sure that then Jamie can kill Jack. And she says that he owes her, that she has saved him more than once, and he owes her life, and he asks if she really is calling in that debt now, and he's disgusted when she says she can't make him see any reason any other way. He can't believe that she would allow him to let the man that lived in his nightmares for so long to live. He can't believe she'd actually do that. And remember, we know how much this has affected Jamie. I mean, this has affected him so much to the point where he couldn't even have sex with Claire. He couldn't even see Claire. He saw Jack all the time. Everything that Claire said, we remember how bad that was in the finale. And the fact that she's not letting him kill the one person he wants to kill, obviously he feels really upset. Obviously this is really affecting him, but it really shows Claire's love for Jamie. She doesn't want him to do it till it's the right time. Now is not the right time to go to call a duel. And yeah, I think he should be slow about it. I understand that Jamie obviously wants immediate revenge, but that's not something that he really can get right now. It's something that's not going to end well for anyone. Immediate revenge is not the thing that he needs, and if anything that happens there, it's going to be very interesting, and definitely, it's going to be very interesting to see how this all plays out. And he pays his debt, so asks again if she is calling in her debt with the life of Jack, and she says yes. Disgusted, he walks towards her, picks up his sword and kisses it, walks over, sets its blade down against the bed. He says, a year, not one day more. When she reacted out to him, he sternly says, do not touch me, looks her up and down, turns to go stand by the chair, and that's where the episode ends. And we really do end with them very divided, which I thought was a very well done scene. And the way that these two were divided, where they were kind of like an inch apart from each other, you really do see that they are close, but they're still very divided in the fact that this really is affecting them. Jamie wants that revenge, but he can't get that revenge because of the fact of the prophecy, because of the history between, not the prophecy, but because of the family tree, because he needs to keep Jack alive to ensure that she does get to meet Jamie, because that part of her life could be erased forever if something goes wrong there. But overall, guys, really incredible stuff. I really love this episode, definitely really great stuff there. But we'll have to see what happens here, because Claire does want to keep Jack alive, and obviously Claire's plan is not really the most well thought out. I understand what she's trying to do, that she wants to make sure that Jack is alive, but how is she really going to make this work? I mean, what's going to happen? Is Jack going to live, and then Jamie's just going to randomly call him to a duel? I mean, I don't really see how she really wants this to work. It's going to be very interesting to see how that all plays out. I don't really know what Claire exactly is going to do in this situation, but that's going to be very interesting to see what ends up happening with this. I mean, I really can't tell how this is all going to work, because Claire does have this plan, which Jamie clearly is telling her is not going to happen, which no, it probably isn't going to happen. I don't see this plan happening at all. It really isn't a very well thought out plan, I have to say. So really, I don't think this is a very good plan, and it really isn't going to end well for anyone, I have to say. We'll have to see what happens with that, though. As far as Jack goes, though, it really doesn't seem like he's there to get his revenge on Jamie. Obviously, it's part of his plan. He does obviously want to finish killing Jamie, but it also kind of seems like Jack did what he needed to do with him. Like, Jack already put Jamie through enough pain. He's made him suffer. Now, Jamie obviously wants to get that revenge, which Jack obviously very keenly is okay with him, winning. Very, very much does want to go to a duel with Jamie, but it's not Jack's immediate concern. It is Jamie's immediate concern, but it's not Jack's. Jack's immediate concern is to look over his brother, and that's something that we didn't really see, and I like that Jack, like I said, isn't as well respected here. People aren't as scared of Jack. In fact, they don't even see Jack really as a threat, which is very interesting. And you even see here in France, even though Jack, I think, is just very intimidating because we know what Jack has done in the past, here he is a lot more vulnerable, and that's the scary part of this, is that Jack really is vulnerable. I don't really see him as intimidating as he once was last year, which is interesting. I mean, obviously I get those vibes from me because I just do when Jack comes on my TV screen, but here, I just didn't see him as intimidating, which is very interesting. I love the way that was played out. Really good scene, definitely. And then as far as this whole situation with Mary, obviously, Mary likes Alex. How is this really going to play out? I mean, she's telling Alex that Mary might not be the right fit for him. But how does Mary react to this? I mean, Mary obviously does want to be with Alex. I think that they are probably going to get married. She wants him to get married, but how is she going to let Mary know that Jack really is the one that she should be with? I'm not really sure that's going to play out. We'll have to see what happens with that. That's going to be very interesting. I like the way that Jamie's trying to get this information out of Saint Germain. I don't really know if it's going to work, if he's going to get that information out of the Comte. Obviously, the Comte, he has his plan for Claire. I know definitely there's something going on there. I can't exactly tell you what his plan is, but he definitely has a plan, and we'll have to see what happens with that, but that's going to be very interesting. And then as far as the Duke goes, clearly he wants information on the prince, which Jamie does not want to give him, so that's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. And I like this dynamic, like I said, between Annalise and Claire. I like these two aren't complete enemies. I like they're actually trying to be civil to each other. But overall, guys, amazing episode. Really great stuff as usual. I've been loving this season. You guys know that. Let me know if you guys saw this episode, to your thoughts on it. We'll see you guys in my next video, which will be for Awkward, and we'll see you guys for that. Okay, bye.